Welcome back. Well, with me now to talk about her new book, Zen Under Fire, is author Marianne Elliott. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks so
nice
much for
to be
coming
here.
in. Zen Under Fire, in a nutshell, what's the book about?
Well, it's a book about the 2 years that I spent working in Afghanistan, and in a nutshell, it's a book about somebody who went into Afghanistan with very high hopes about what I could achieve, and had those hopes quite rudely dashed, and then had to find my way back to how do you really do good in a place like Afghanistan.
So what did you want to achieve there?
Well, I think it's what I've always wanted to achieve, which is to just sort of somehow play my part to contribute to making the world a little bit safer and a little bit fairer.
Did you think you could make a difference? Obviously, you went there guns blazing,
Yeah.
thinking that you could. At what point did you think, crikey, this isn't quite what I expected?
Well, I think what happened was I got this job with the United Nations, and previously I'd always worked with smaller organisations, and I thought, okay, this is the United Nations. This is the organisation that has some power, has some influence. This is going to be the job where I'm going to actually really be able to see change. We're going to be able to make things happen. And it was very early on in my time in Afghanistan, at the very outset, really, within the first month of my time with the UN, that I discovered the United Nations can't do even what I thought it could do.
Because your boss, was it your boss that went on holiday literally in the first few days, was it, of being there, or a couple of weeks of being there, and you were left in charge, baptism by fire?
Absolutely.
In hindsight, was that a good thing? Or...
Well, I mean, you always, you know, you just have to take what you've got and you learn from it, don't you? But I don't think it was a good thing. I was left in charge of the office. My boss left at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning saying to me, look, you'll be fine, Marianne, don't worry. And I was saying, oh, are you sure? I haven't been here long. And he said, you'll be fine. As long as nobody kills Amanullah Khan, you'll be fine. And he
What
left.
happened?
Within 3 hours, Amanullah Khan was dead. Oh. And so he was a tribal leader. And as a result of his assassination, sort of tribal fighting exploded, and I was, you know, in the deep end.
So what did your job actually involve? Well,
the job I was hired to do as a human rights officer is documenting human rights violations, investigating, building up a case so that people who are, you know, human rights perpetrators can be charged, prosecuted, and also more proactive work, sort of supporting the police and the judiciary to prosecute things. But what I ended up doing was covering the job of my boss, which is the peacekeeping part of the mission. So that was really, you know, supposed to go in there somehow and convince these tribal leaders to stop fighting and stop killing each other, which was a little out of my kind of expertise.
Really? I think it would be out of most people's. I mean, life must have been incredibly different, obviously, to New Zealand. What were some of the stark contrasts that you noticed?
I think for me, the starkest contrast of all, I mean, obviously, you know, the geography is profoundly different, the level of poverty is very different, but I think the starkest contrast is the lack of freedom because of the complete lack of security. You know, you can't go out and walk in the street with any sense of safety. You can't send your children to school with any sense of confidence that they'll come home alive at the end of the day. And I mean, that I think is a bigger difference than anything else.
And that was the case for you as well. I know in the book you talk about when your boyfriend, Joel, when you were with him, going in between your houses and stuff, you weren't supposed to do that under the cover of darkness, but you still did, you took risks.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think the lack of freedom probably is, it will drive you crazy. You know, that being kept into a little compound with big walls all around you, only allowed to leave if you're in an armoured vehicle, I don't think you can really sustain that. And so you just have to find ways to get a little bit of space.
You spoke in the book in the early days about being very, very scared. Did that change? Did you get to a point where you weren't?
Well, I think what happens is that we're very adaptive, aren't we, human beings? You get used to things. And what I think happened was that there's a certain level of fear that you just kind of push below the surface. Yeah.
And that's how you deal with it. Did you miss home?
Oh, I did. I come from a family of great travellers and adventurers, so we travel a lot. Yeah. And that's part of what we do.
When you needed sanity, it appeared that you took to yoga. Was that more than just a form of exercise, though?
Oh, absolutely. Much more than exercise. I think yoga for me was much more about learning to be able to be still and allow what was going on for me to actually be apparent, that everything that gets pushed below the surface, in yoga it comes back up again. And I think I'd come to realise you can't just keep pushing it down. You kind of have to let it come up. And with yoga, you've got a way to sort of move it through and move it out.
And you could do it anywhere, I guess.
You can do it anywhere.
In terms of being prepared mentally, how were you affected? How was your health affected?
Well, I think, I mean, I never really got any sort of clarity around this at the time, but I think in retrospect that I had some kind of post-traumatic stress, I don't know what it was, some kind of, impact on my mental health, and I definitely think I became depressed while I was in Afghanistan.
Because one of the things that you were charged with doing was talking to the women of whose husbands and sons in some cases had been killed in this fighting. How do you do that? How do you, I mean, it was part of your job, but how do you do that? How do you talk to these people and come away not being changed? Well,
I think that the thing is that I only know one way to do it, and that's to be open to them as human beings and to be present with them as human beings. But that means you do come away changed. To really listen to somebody tell you that experience as a mother of having people come into her house and kill her children, you can't be not changed by it.
No. Do you still keep in touch with, you must have met some fabulous people, do you keep in touch?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed the book, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well done, I hope it goes really well for you. Lovely to have met you.
Thank you.
All right, for more information on Marianne's book, please head to our website at tvnz.co.nz/goodmorning.